than just symbolism. This is a matter of urgency because every single day that we wait, thousands of Palestinians die. So we're going to do a couple of chants before we get started with our speakers. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. So I'll say from the river to the sea. You say Palestine will be free. Ready? From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. From Palestine to Mexico. You repeat. Okay, repeat after me. From Palestine to Mexico. From Palestine to Mexico. All the walls have got to go. All the walls have got to go. From Palestine to Mexico. From Palestine to Mexico. All the walls have got to go. All the walls have got to go. Okay, so we're going to have a few speakers. To start us off, I'm going to introduce Christian from PSL, the Party for Socialism and Liberation. And take it off, Christian.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for being here. Again, my name is Christian with the Party of Socialism and Liberation. We are here to demand that Austin City Council finally speak out firmly in support of a permanent ceasefire, which is to say, above all, an immediate and permanent end to the genocide that Israel is perpetrating against Palestinians of Gaza, the West Bank, and all of occupied Palestine. It is obscene that such a common sense proposal as a ceasefire should be such an uphill battle. In just 2 months, Israel has massacred 20,000 Palestinians. About half of the dead are children. Israel has recently bombed hospitals, homes, ambulances, and assassinated dozens of journalists and many of their families. Hundreds and thousands of people have seen their homes permanently destroyed by Israeli bombs. Collectively, these killings and collective punishment of the civilian population constitute war crimes under the Geneva Convention. In recent days, Israel finally made concessions. They have been forced into a temporary pause and have released some of almost 10,000 Palestinians being held captive in Israeli jails. This was not granted out of the goodwill of Israel. This was granted because of a global movement of millions for Palestine and has disrupted business as usual. But this is not enough. A pause on genocide is not sufficient. We have to keep up the momentum. Turn this temporary ceasefire into a permanent ceasefire. We also need to demand U.S. politicians from the highest level of the White House to the rank and file city councils to cut all ties with the racist apartheid genocidal regime. Austinites alone pay $14 million a year to the Israeli military. So to not speak up right now or by now is unconscionable. We recently published a statement titled Texas and Israel, Partners in Genocide. This details some of the relations between the police and Border Patrol in the U.S. who oppress black and brown people here, and the IDF who perfect these repressions tactics against Palestinians. We stand for full liberation of all oppressed people, and that is why we echo that from Palestine to Mexico, all the walls have got to go. Free Palestine, permanent ceasefire now. Thank you.
Give it up. Could you please spell your first and last name for the media?
Yes. Christian Sevidal, Christian Sevidal, with the Party of Socialism and Liberation.
Thank you so much. Give it up again for Christian. Got so many amazing speakers coming out to speak up for the liberation of Palestinians and people all across the world. One of those incredible speakers who has been an advocate, an activist, and an overall leader for the liberation of people all across Austin, particularly our black and brown communities, is Susana Almanza from Poder. And I'm going to invite Susana to come and say a few words with us now. Give it up for Susana Almanza.
Peace. I'm Susana Almanza with Poder, People Organized in Defense of Earth and her resources. And as an indigenous person of this continent, I know what it is to have your land stolen. As an indigenous person of this continent, I know what it is to have your land stolen. I know what it is to live in an occupied territory. I know what it is to be exploited, murdered, killed, all of these things in jail. We know that there's been a genocide against the indigenous people of this continent. So we're here to say in solidarity with the Palestinians, we know what's happening. We know across the world that people of color, there's a war against people of color in this world. And we have got to unite and work together. And we got to make sure that we end the genocide that is happening. That genocide happened to my people. And I don't want it to happen to anyone else. We've got to work together to make sure that we sustain our people and this land. It belongs to everyone, not just to greedy people, not to people who are racist, not to people who don't care about other people who have lost their humanity. That's right, they have lost their humanity. When you can do that to people and kill little children, bomb the hospitals and everything, and this city council has got to take a stand. This council is guilty of genocide, of racism, all the ism that you can think of. This city council is little by little taking over our land, the land that we had to buy back in East Austin, in the Eastern Crescent. We're under siege also. We're under siege to be displaced, to move us away. And so we're here to support and be in solidarity with all the Palestinian people and say this genocide has got to stop. And Congressman Doggett, you need to step forward. You're supposed to be the progressive person. You need to step forward and make that statement. We've got to end this war. Thank you. Susana, S-U-S-A-N-A, Almanza, A-L-M-A-N-Z-A with Poder, P-O-D-E-R.
Thank you, Susana. Give it up. We have next Tura from Jewish Voices for Peace. Voice for Peace. Give it up for Tura.
If you could say and spell your first and last name before you start. Before or after.
Okay. My name is Tura, T-U-R-A, Cook.
Speak into it. Yeah.
My name is Tura, T-U-R-A, Cook, C-O-O-K. I'm with the Austin chapter of Jewish Voice for Peace. Jewish Voice for Peace in Austin is honored to stand here alongside Palestinians and demand that Austin City Council consider the ceasefire recommendation passed by the Human Rights Commission. In addition to provisions on anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and anti-Arab violence, the recommendation calls for a permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, the release of Israeli hostages by Hamas, the resumption of essential supplies of food, water, gas, and electricity by Israel, and the free flow of humanitarian aid. We represent the decades-long movement of Jews who oppose Zionism and support the struggle for Palestinian liberation. We are here today to reiterate our solidarity with the Palestinian people in their fight for self-determination. Here in Texas, our Palestinian, Arab, and Muslim comrades are seeing a rising tide of racism and Islamophobia, and it's on us to step up and protect our neighbors. We are also seeing a rise in anti-Semitism, but criticism of Israel and criticism of Zionism cannot be conflated with the very real threat of anti-Semitism from the far right and from white supremacists. Jewish and Palestinian liberations are intertwined, and we will not allow these atrocities to be carried out in our name as Jews or as Americans any longer. We say it loudly, criticism of Israel or Zionism is not anti-Semitism. We say loudly that never again. We say loudly that never again means never again for anyone. And our Judaism means nothing if not to bear witness to the horrors of genocide and to call out from the depth of our hearts, cease fire now. We stand in front of City Hall where our elected officials determine policy for a city of 975,000 within a metropolitan area close in population to that of Gaza, roughly 2 million people, while national, state, and local politicians ponder whether their careers will suffer if they call for a permanent ceasefire. Tens of thousands of Gazans have died. 20,000 Palestinians have been killed. We call for an end to the ongoing genocide and collective punishment of Palestinians. We call for the delivery of humanitarian aid, which has not been allowed to enter over the past month, even during the so-called pause. We call for the release of Israelis taken hostage on October 7th, and also draw attention to the 10,000 Palestinian hostages held without charge in Israeli jails for years on end, many of them children. We provide $3.8 billion in U.S. tax dollars every year to Israel, subsidizing their military occupation. As Texans, we are complicit in this ongoing genocide. Texas alone has provided $300 million to the Israeli government. The taxpayers of Austin alone contribute $14,785,305 annually for Israeli bombs. That is our tax money. In budget hearings for the current city budget, Housing Department staff estimated that the need for rental relief is $12 million annually. Our tax dollars should be spent keeping more Austinites in their homes rather than destroying homes and killing people. It is our tax dollars also support the police exchange programs between the U.S. and Israeli army that perpetuate racist state violence in Palestine and against black and brown communities in the U.S. Some of the U.S. weapons and surveillance tech companies that are currently supplying and profiting from this genocide, like El Beit, have headquarters in our state. And it's illegal for state employees to non-violently protest Israeli apartheid and boycott Israeli products in solidarity with the Palestinian people. All right. Let's wrap this up. Where is it? Here we go. We know that a permanent ceasefire is just the first step. The ongoing assault on Gaza since October 7th is just one of a long line of military operations that has exacerbated a humanitarian and public health crisis. A ceasefire alone will not stop the ongoing military occupation of Palestinian lands or the ongoing apartheid that Palestinians endure every day. We will continue to speak out and condemn Israeli violence and the ongoing oppression of Palestinian people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tura. I'm now going to welcome up Shelby from DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. Shelby, come on down. Give it up for Shelby.
Hello, my name is Shelby, and I'm the co-chair of the Austin chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America. I'm proud to be here with an incredible coalition of local organizations that stand against genocide and for the liberation of Palestinian people. Today we've gathered to pressure our City Council representatives to sign on to the ceasefire resolution, which was passed and recommended by the Austin Human Rights Commission weeks ago. As of today, over 14,000 Palestinians have been killed by the State of Israel's campaign. 5,300 of those are children. A temporary ceasefire was negotiated, but Netanyahu has already said that his wish is to continue his violent campaign, which will further terrorize the people of Palestine. Demanding a ceasefire is just one step, but a step that will save lives. DSA believes in a free Palestine. We stand in solidarity against the apartheid project in Palestine, a continuation of colonialism enforced by military occupation. We believe in equality, human rights, and the self-determination of the Palestinian people. You may hear that what is happening in Gaza does not affect us here in Texas, and this is a lie. Our police have trained with the State of Israel, with a police and military force that specializes in guarding open-air prisons and the seizure of homes from Palestinian civilians. And just yesterday, 2 teaching assistants at the University of Texas were removed from their position at the School of Social Work for sharing mental health resources for those affected by the genocide. Speaking up against genocide or even acknowledging that it is distressing could cost Texans their jobs. This is not to mention the Texas state ban on boycotting Israeli products, a personal choice that everyone should have the freedom to make, that is enforced at all public institutions in Texas. Austin has a chance to show that we stand with workers who dare to speak up against genocide. Over 68% of the public supports a ceasefire, yet most of our electeds in Congress have stubbornly remained silent on a ceasefire or refused to support actual legislation that could stop the violence. Our local electeds here in Austin, many of whom we know personally, are supposed to be different, more accountable to their constituents, but here we are, almost 2 months into this genocide, where it's estimated that every 10 minutes a Palestinian child is murdered. It should not be this hard to get our city council to stand against genocide. Our community has shown that we support a ceasefire. Thousands have gathered for rallies. Local businesses have participated and shut it down for Palestine. People have organized phone banks, letter writing campaigns, and more. And I urge every Texan who hears this to get involved. We will call on every single elected official to demand an immediate and permanent ceasefire. Silence is not an option. Elected officials have a choice. You can stand on the right side of history in favor of peace and against apartheid, or you can remain silent as our tax dollars fund the death of thousands. Austin will remember what you choose. And now, if y'all could repeat after me. From Palestine to Mexico.
From Palestine to Mexico.
All the walls have got to go.
All the walls have got to go.
Thank you, and I can spell my name now. My name is Shelby Bohannon, Shelby Bohannon. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelby. Give it up. We've got a couple more speakers before we make our way into the chambers. Right now I'm going to welcome up Shanice from the Austin for Palestine Coalition. Give it up for Shanice.
Hello. As a Black American who has been watching the violence in Palestine, I have been in a constant, alternating state of mourning and action. The Palestinian people have been our constant siblings in struggle since the Civil Rights Movement, hosting our leaders like Huey P. Newton and Malcolm X, offering advice on protecting yourself in moments of resistance during Ferguson and beyond, mothers in Gaza writing letters expressing their solidarity with Black mothers during the Detroit water crisis, taking to the streets of Palestine in the name of George Floyd, and even now, Palestinian American organizers have been splitting their time between fighting against genocide on their community and stopping Cop City in Atlanta. From the persistent bombings in Birmingham during the Civil Rights Movement, the racial terrorism that initiated the Great Migration, which scattered Southern Black families across the United States, the occupations of our cities by militarized police after extrajudicial killings, the move bombing. As we hear stories of Palestinian child prisoners being released, the story of Khalif Browder comes to my mind. I could go on. We have between us parallel struggles. Our leaders over the years, like the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, Angela Davis, Kwame Ture, and now leadership in the Movement for Black Lives, have never stopped spreading the word about Palestine and doing all they can to call for an end to the occupation. It was knowing my history as a Black American person that first alerted me to this situation many years ago. My heart aches for the men of Palestine, digging community members out of rubble. The other day, I saw them pull a newborn from the rubble of a home and shower her with kisses, praising Allah for her survival. It shames me to know that American tax dollars did this. It also terrifies me to know that those same tax dollars pay for our police forces to be trained by Israeli occupation forces responsible for the blood and trauma being caused to our Palestinian siblings. I ache for Palestine, and I fear for what will become of us at the hands of an ever-militarized Israeli occupation force-trained police force in the aftermath. I'm calling on City Council to push for a ceasefire for them, for us, and because it is simply the morally correct thing to do. Thank you. I'm Shanice Brim, SHANICEBRIM.
Thank you, Shanice. All right, and last but certainly not least, we have Hatem from also the Austin for Palestine Coalition. Give it up for Hatem.
Thank you. My name is Hatem, H-A-T-E-M. Last name is Natsheh, N-A-T-S-H-E-H. I have prepared a statement, but before I start my statement, let me thank all of you for being here. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you standing for what's right and humanity. Let me say and appreciate all the organizations who stood up and supported the ceasefire. PODER, DSA, Educate Austin, Austin Justice Coalition, Central Labor Council, and I'm sure I forgot other organizations. I appreciate all these organizations, grassroots organizations, for standing up for what's right and for humanity. Let me start by thanking our Austin Human Rights Commission. I would like to thank the commissioners who are present with us today. Colby Duhan, Gabriela Zidane, and Mibs Islam. Thank you for writing that resolution and standing up for what's right. Thank you. Let me just say, I feel really embarrassed to be here and asking for a ceasefire. Ceasefire, for God's sake. We're not asking for anything else. Minimum bare, ceasefire, and we are not getting the response from our leaders in the city of Austin. Let me start with my written statement now. Austin City Council, let's save lives and put an end to the suffering. Let's assert our humanity and call for a ceasefire, a permanent ceasefire. Thank you. For the last 40 years, I have proudly called Austin my home. I have always been proud of our city and our community for being at the forefront communities that dare to take the initiative to promote equality and harmony while combating discrimination and hate of any kind. Our beloved city has always welcomed everyone, regardless of race, economic status, faith, and lifestyle. Today, we are called upon to uphold unwavering principle of protecting the human lives of all anywhere in the world. There is no better path for saving human lives and respecting the humanity and dignity. Thank you. There is no better path for saving human lives and respecting the humanity and dignity of all by protecting everybody's precious life. especially those of innocent children and non-combatants. Emboldened by the U.S. unconditional support, the Israeli war against Palestinian civilians in Gaza has exacted unacceptable and growing toll of human lives that will soon exceed 20,000 people, where more than 70% of the victims are children and women. Yes, and while I say that, I call on the Austin social justice advocates and organizations who failed to call and stand with humanity. I do not want to name organization, but they know this themselves. They call for human rights, they call for productive rights, they call for LGBTQ rights, but they're not calling for Palestinian life. The precious lives of about 50,000 unborn children in Gaza are threatened by the absence of medical care needed by pregnant and expectant mothers. May I ask, where is Planned Parenthood on that? We ask our city council to continue its Austin tradition of being a leader in the fight against hate, discrimination, unjustified and unwarranted warmongering. Yes. We demand and encourage our city council to take a principled stand that is consistent with the spirit of Austin and call for a ceasefire that will end the indiscriminate and disproportionate attacks on innocent civilians. We also encourage the city council and mayor to take a clear stand against the irrational statement of the Texas governor and those of some elements in the Biden administration. Every resident of Austin would be proud of our city for adding our voices to those of humanitarian organizations worldwide and millions of global citizens who have voiced their solidarity with the victims of inhumane war and innocent civilians, especially women and children. Our Palestinian, Arab and Muslim communities will continue to work hand in hand with all to ensure harmony and peace that is an integral part of the soul of our beloved city of Austin. Let me just say, the people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. Thank you, and free Palestine. My last name, N-A-T-S-H-E-H. One more ask. Please keep calling, emailing, City Council, Roy Daggett, anybody in the elected officials. Do not give up. They think we will give up. We will never give up. We will never forget and forgive. So keep up the great work. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hassan. Thank you, everybody, for coming out today. So I'm just going to explain a little bit of the logistics of what's going to happen next. So we are going to file into the chambers to basically do a peaceful sit-in, where we're just going to be there visibly, silently, for the duration of the entire meeting to see that they cannot ignore us and that we are not going anywhere. Some things to know. Sticks, any like poles cannot go inside, so those, please take them back to your car. They've made this new rule that the inside atrium is no longer a free speech area, so while you are going from the entrance to the chambers, just kind of cover up your sign or roll them up. With the very long roll, if y'all are planning to bring that inside the chambers as well, you cannot have it going across anywhere because it'll be considered a tripping hazard. So if you want to try and find seats in the same section and kind of have it snake, you can do that. Or I was also thinking potentially there are some windows out here and outside of the chambers. Folks can stand outside of those windows with the roll facing forward.
but unfortunately, they will shut us down if we have it towards just anywhere across the room. So that's something to keep in mind. For those who can stay for the entire duration of the meeting, it will end at 12:30. But if y'all have any other questions, feel free to let me know. I want to echo what Hatem said. Please continue reaching out to them. Zionists are very well organized. They're out organizing us, to be quite frank. They have hella money. But why do politicians want money? To get votes. And that's what we have. We have people. We have our communities. We have the votes, and we have to start threatening that. Because quite frankly, if the politicians did what was right, they already would have done it. So now we have to make them scared. We have to make them feel like they are backed up against the corner, and if they do not do the right thing, they will not have our support no matter who they're running against in their next election cycle. So just make sure and try and keep that in your messaging, but keep emailing, keep calling. It is working. We have to keep the pressure up. Thank y'all so much. Let's go ahead and make our way in. Does anybody know if the back door is open as well? It is? Okay, so if folks want to also go around the building, there's a back door, just because otherwise the line will be quite long.